are slaves. Don't forget it. Never forget it." Ina had been so young, confused by the hushed ranting, but she'd promised she'd defy them, to fight where she could, and that was why Ina took her little breaks. Tiny infractions to let the adepts realize not everyone could be indoctrinated by their lies. Her mother had been taken a week later, along with 50 others. That was the way of the adepts. Most of her group had forgotten the old ways. Few remained from the second generation, with the exception of the elders, like Nadine, and they showed no signs of passing on lessons from the first generation, the ones that had been taken in the war so long ago. Carl grunted as he closed the cages around the collection of moss, and Ina helped him power up the controller. He passed it to her, and she used the lever to direct the cart toward the opening in the ground. A lift arrived, and Nadine motioned her to drive the load to its destination. Soon Ina was heading below the surface, the heat of the sun, the gentle breeze, a distant memory that she'd cling to until the next time she was chosen for work duty. She wished she could volunteer to take someone's spot, but they weren't allowed to swap roles. It was forbidden. A tall, thin man met them below, his eyes hollow, his skin pallid. "Leave the cart. You are to head to 5. His voice croaked like he hadn't spoken in days. Ina's heart raced with an instant flash of fear. 5. That was where her mother had gone so many years ago. That was where they all went, with no hope of returning. "It's our time," Carl said, a shimmer of indignation across his face. Ina saw it now. They were slaves, pitiful and beaten. Whatever the adepts wanted with them, it had something to do with the war. For 50 years, her people had been forced to live here, to feed themselves, to manufacture clothing, to build ships for the adepts, to procreate, so their population would grow. Ina could hardly feel a thing as she plodded through the corridor at the front of the line. All 100 of her group were moving toward 5, and she nearly turned as they neared the exit for 2. That was their home, the massive city, giving them residence and so much more. It wasn't a bad place to inhabit, but after feeling the sun on her face, painfully aware she wouldn't see it for months on end again, she was almost ready for the next step. Perhaps her mother was still in 5. Maybe this was the start of her new life, one she could finally be happy with. Judging by the expressions on the rest of the group's faces, they didn't think so. Whispered rumors claimed it was the end of the line. The people that had served their purpose were moved there, never to be seen again. Once, Ina had heard a man mention a device the adepts used to wipe the minds of the groups. Then they were put into armor and transferred to one of the huge, ugly vessels. Was Ina going to suffer the same fate? Was her mother alive on one of the ships, drifting through space with no memory of Ina or her previous life? At least she would discover what it was all about. She wouldn't have to speculate on what her existence meant any longer. The corridors had always felt homey, bright, and tall, but as she strode onwards past 3, then 4, they were shrinking around her. Her legs were already aching from a hard day's work, and others were protesting as they moved toward 5. The exit was unassuming, the same as the others, a giant metal doorway, this one with dents on the outside. Ina pictured a previous group fighting back before being pressed through the entrance. She glanced to the floor, half expecting to see bloodstains, but the surface was clean, nearly immaculate. "What do you think is on the other side?" Carl had found her, and he stared forward, eyes unblinking. "Our deaths," Ina said softly. There were none of the adepts here, only their group. Nadine led them, taking orders from whoever had left the instructions. "I'm ready," Carl said. "I'm not." "We don't have to do this," Ina said, her voice rising in volume. "There can be another way. None of the adepts are here. We can keep going." 5 is the end of the line, Nadine said, frowning. Ina's cheeks swelled as she inhaled.